What is good, everyone? For today's video, I'm starting something new here. It's going to be a reoccurring series where I can basically just cover anything. I'm calling it photosynthesis because it's going to be where I can take any ideas, thoughts, questions, ideas from you too, and try to turn them into a video and talk about them. So I'm going to be really free with this. It's going to be a little more, just off the cuff and not as structured as my other videos. But it should be fun, and it's just a place where we can talk about anything. And so we're going to start this off, photosynthesis number 1, and we're going to cover seeing a photo like a canvas. And it was something I was thinking about recently because a lot of photographers, and some of those famous photographers, they started off actually as painters. Henry Cartier-Bresson would be one of the most famous ones, and then they went to photography, but they definitely took what they learned in painting. Like a lot of Henry Cartier-Bresson's pictures, you'll see they look almost like a painting. They take the things they learned from that and apply them to photography. And when dealing with unposed photography, like street photography, you can't control it like you can a painting, but there's still a lot of things you can learn. And some of the famous painters that a lot of photographers look into, I mean, when we're talking about studio work and things like that, Rembrandt would probably be number 1, and that has a lot to do with the lighting, how he painted portraits. A lot of photographers took that, how the lighting hit the face. And then there's another one, Vermeer, and that's a huge one actually with a lot of street photographers I know too, especially the ones that like the light and shadow play, because if you look at his photos, you'll see a lot of that too. But it's not just about light. You can actually look at a photo like a canvas and learn something from that too. Now, and that's what we're going to focus on for this one. But when I'm talking about a canvas, I'm talking about the whole canvas. So if you think of a photo or a scene as a frame, and you think of that like a canvas, that can help how you do it, especially starting out. One big thing you'll see with a lot of beginning photographers, or some people get stuck into it for a long time, but you can get kind of one-track minded out there, and especially as a street photographer. And it makes sense. Why? Because when you're out there, you have no control. You're out there seeing and looking and trying to find something interesting out of daily life. And while daily life can produce some of the best images, most of the time it's hard to find anything. So those few times when you do see something interesting, you can get excited and then just focus on that and not think about anything else. So the whole rest of the frame, you could get the shot, but then you look at the photo and the rest of the frame is either ruining the photo or not helping it, and the photo could have been better. So when you have those instinctual shots and the moment's going to go, maybe you don't have time, but most of the time there's something more you could probably have done. And if you look at the photo like a canvas, I think that can kind of help, because you think of someone like a Bob Ross, the famous Bob Ross, where you would watch him paint. He would start off with a blank canvas, and he would, when he's painting, he's looking at the whole canvas. It's not like he's just focusing on one corner and painting there. All of it's important. So he starts off here, and he might think, maybe I need something here. I'll be like, I need something here. I need something here. Should I add something more? No, that's good there. So you're thinking about it all, and it's not necessarily that you need more in every place. Sometimes too much is a bad thing too. But just thinking when you're out there photographing and you see a scene, maybe you see a subject that's interesting, or you have another subject too. And if you look at the scene, you can look at the corner here. Is there nothing there? Maybe you need something there. You can wait for something to go by, or maybe you could move, and that's a huge thing too. Just you moving can completely change the frame and change what's on the canvas, if you think of it that way. So maybe everything's too small, so you need to get up closer to bring focus to it. Maybe maybe you have something that looks really interesting, a couple or something, there's some interaction there, and you want to bring focus to that. So not only do you get up closer, but maybe you can move and create somewhat of a frame within a frame, or you can get away from overlapping. You just really want to look at the whole scene as important, just like a painter would look at a canvas. And I have some examples of this too. I just went through my archive pretty quick here and brought up some examples where I can give you an idea of what I'm talking about. Because another thing is opposite to what I started off with about how you can get one-track minded, sometimes you can be trying to do too much too. And that's something that some photographers get stuck in, especially when you're trying to really focus on layers and you get really into layers. So you might have something really interesting right here, and the whole scene's already good, but you're just so focused on adding more to it So you wait till someone walks by and you get their head right in the corner there, and then it ends up really just taking away focus from what's interesting and basically ruining the frame. So you can think of, you have a painting and everything's good already. Would that painter add somebody's random head in the corner? Probably not. So just thinking of that photo the same way that a painter would think of a canvas, as every part of it's important, can be applied to photography. It's more difficult as an unposed photographer, but there's still things you can do and look for and decisions you can make out there. And so to help better show that, I do have a few photos here that I went through in my archive, so let me bring them up. All right, here I have a photo from Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, by one of the main fish markets, and this is the subject that first caught my eye, but I didn't want him to be the whole picture. Just like you have a painting, you wouldn't just paint him and then have everything else just be blank or just be nothing happening. So I wanted something else to happen in the frame. So there's people moving around and you just kind of time things. You look around, you look outside of the frame, and I waited for this guy to be here and I saw he was moving and I caught them all at the right time. So there was something happening across the frame, and you have the sailboat here too, and then you have some clouds up here. And so it fills the frame without being too much too. And so if you think of this like a canvas, you would have you would paint something here, you would paint something here, you'd paint something here, and maybe if it was perfect, maybe you'd have more clouds or something like that. But overall, it works because I was waiting for more to happen. Here's one in Cape Town, South Africa, and this one kind of has more of a paint-like feel, which is another thing, like I mentioned at the start, is light is a big thing that you can learn from paintings, because a lot of painters will paint light hitting certain directions, which creates different mood and atmosphere. And some of the best light, of course, is going to be at the end of the day, like here. So it really brings attention. If you're at the right position, it'll bring attention to certain things that you want it to bring attention to, like the ball here, like her hands here and the gesture. And so you already have a beautiful scene here with the mountains in the background and the water. So here you're also trying to time things. You know she's about to throw the ball up. I mean, she threw the ball up multiple times. So you knew it was probably going to happen again. And then I saw this girl running. So I want to wait till she's a little bit out there. I don't want any overlapping, so I need to take the photo before these two are in front of him or behind him there. And so it's all about timing and then filling the frame and making sure that all the frame is accounted for with some importance. Here's a photo in San Juan, Puerto Rico. And here, also a lot of painters, they use lines. So you can think of geometry too. So this fence here brings attention to the boy like that. And I'm waiting until this rooster here is walking like that. So and then I'm using this as a divider here. So I'm thinking about everything in the frame as much as I can. And so I can move. That's one thing I can do. And another thing is I can watch and time things as they move. Now here's a photo that actually some people have commented before, reminding them of Vermeer. So that's that look of the light and the shadow play here. And so for this one, that's what that's about. So sometimes you don't need something happening in every portion of the frame, as long as you have something in specific parts like here. It brings enough attention to here, and then you have the light streaks, and then you have this man here with his little ears. So details matter too, just like they would in a painting. Here's a photo from St. Petersburg, Russia. And so here there's not a whole lot going on, but there's enough going on that it fills the frame. You have the big bridge pulled up like that. And you can think of when you're shooting in color, you can, just like painters use colors, they're going to use different colors that work together. Right here you have this kind of salmon pinkish color next to blue. It works well together. You have the blue here and the gray. So really, this is most of the colors right here. And so you can think of that and just how the positioning is down here in the corner, and then it brings attention to that bridge too. And you have different paintings. So some paintings are more about, you know, the whole scene is a beautiful scene, or some are a little more abstract, or more about geometry, or more minimalist too. So this is a more minimalist than some of the others, and it's very, you know, strong lines here, and it's a lot about color and symmetry. So you have this divider here and they're mirroring each other, but of course the orange here really stands out against the blue. And here I just pulled this example up because a lot of times when people think about, looking at a photo like a canvas or a painting, they're thinking every part of it has to be filled with something. And sometimes photographers think that too, but it's not necessarily true for everything, because sometimes you just have something very strong that you want to be focused on and you don't want distraction. So this couple was pretty strong with the hands like that and the rose there and how she kind of blends behind them. That's really, it's enough right there that I don't need to add more. Now I could have waited. People were walking by once in a while. I could have waited till someone was walking here, or maybe I could have waited and caught it when someone was here and someone was there. But in this case, I don't think that would have helped, because that would have just distracted from them without really bringing any added interest. And we're going to finish off with not my photo, but the great Carolyn Drake, Magnum photographer, one of my favorites. And she has a lot of photos that look like a painting, and this is one of them. And so here she's thinking about the whole scene. Everything has something filled. She's using frames within frames here. She's waiting till the dog's jumped up like that, and this woman's going against the bridge. So this is a scene that you can tell looks somewhat like a painting. So we'll finish off with that one. That's what I'm talking about. Just really what it's about is just making sure you're aware of the whole frame, and that the whole frame's important, just like somebody who was painting would be looking at the whole canvas and putting importance on all of it. And that doesn't mean everything needs to be filled. Sometimes having nothing can add to something else, but still you're thinking about even the part that has nothing. And it's all about your vision and how you want it to look, and thinking about the whole frame is a big part of that. So that's the first photosynthesis. Be sure to tell me what you think of it. I think it'll be good, just so we can talk about anything. I already have a list of ideas, and so a lot of my videos, or most of them, will be really more structured, more topical, like different series focusing on specific things to help you learn, or focusing on different cities, photography there, all types of different things. But this one will just be kind of fun. We can have fun with it and do lots of different things. So in the meantime, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next video. Cheers.